Because with 5G, what we're now seeing is any use cases can be delivered to anyone, to anywhere in real time. They can range from video, standard video, but ultimately moving into manufacturing 4.0 to remote surgery and learning. When the network was built in the case of 3G and 4G for phone and data, humans were quite tolerant. So if something happens to your voice call, well, you just redial, and most of the time you wouldn't even send a complaint. The machines won't be as tolerant. And especially if you look at some of these applications I just talked about, where it becomes really critical in the case of remote surgery, as an example, to make sure that we have all the relevant data to be able to perform the use case in a very critical way. The time is now to really make sure that we can deliver to the 5G expectations that customers, humans and machines, are expecting. What we've now seen really emerging is an ecosystem. And the ecosystem, obviously you have the service providers that tend to rely on the network vendors to provide both the RAN and core technologies. But as we move to more and more use cases are specific to the enterprises, you're now starting to see emerging system integrators focusing on particular industries like manufacturing 4.0, or hyperscalers coming into play and helping the service providers by providing them with cloud infrastructure, both in the core and on the edge, so that they can deliver and run the applications much closer to the end customer. So let me double click on this 5G ecosystem, and we call that the 5G supply chain. This is what underneath the ecosystem, how we got to make sure that the infrastructure can deliver to the expectations of the customer. When you look at the previous generation, 4G and 3G network, the MNO, the service providers, had a clear view of the quality of experience and the quality of service that the end user was experiencing. But as you move to 5G, that experience, that whole supply chain, because of software being disaggregated from the hardware, with the fact that all of the infrastructure is ran into in the cloud, both at the edge and to the core, that whole supply chain gets much more complex now and much more interlinked between effectively the service provider that delivers the connectivity and the platforms all the way down to the end user that could be both machine and human. And so it's really important that if the supply chain is not in complete sync, it will fail, and therefore the quality of experience. To make sure that we have a supply chain that's smart and dynamic, we need to make sure that each link has data to align and deliver that quality of expectation. Now, the good news is 5G is data driven. There's lots of data available in the network. The challenge is all of this data are operating in silo. All of this data is providing huge amount of data and ultimately not being able to provide what we believe is really required, which is not the big data lake, but little data that provide the right data in real time, in context, so that the supply chain can operate flawlessly in a dynamic way and in real time.
If we don't have that data in real time, in the right context, everyone will suffer. Everyone in that ecosystem, everyone in that food chain, including obviously the end user running that application. So what is the solution? So we really believe that in order to meet the new 5G user expectations, that there is absolutely a way that if you can get the data source of all of these different data repositories I just talked about, through some AI and applications, there is the capability to provide all the relevant data to all the relevant links, so that dynamically that supply chain can be delivered with the right data at the right time.
We can all benefit. We will all benefit. Not only will the service providers and the hyperscalers and the networking vendors, but all of the relevant industry segments that will drive the growth for 5G, whether it's manufacturing, healthcare, or retail. And if we do, as an industry, again, we'll not only meet the 5G expectation, but we will exceed them.